Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. One of the articles that we're going to be discussing tonight was the consideration of an ordinance on the request of rezoning parcel JA 13097 along Georgiana. And for those of you who might be here, although I want to extend you our warmest welcome to stay until the very end, that item has been withdrawn by the participant. So there will be no action on that tonight. So those of you who elect to leave may do so now, and the rest of you, we're going to start our meeting, okay?
You gone? It's over.
No action on it tonight.
No, they withdrew it.
Well, I'm going.
That's correct. There will be no action on that tonight at all.
We'll take care of that baby.
Okay, we'll start our meeting. Dr. Sonny Proctor, can you verify that we have a quorum?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Quorum being had, I now declare this meeting open. I'm going to ask Lonnie Waters if he will do an invocation for us.
Lord, we'd just like to thank you for the opportunity to gather together. Last time we were in here, we was asking you to watch over this community because of the storms. Lord, we've had roads and water lines and problems, but the health of the people was a tremendous savior as far as that going, and we thank you for all of that. Lord, we just ask you to watch over this meeting, watch over our city government to the best of their ability, and ask you to give them guidance and direction. Lord, we just ask you these favors and blessings in your name. Amen.
Amen. And Councilman Faust, would you lead us in our pledge of allegiance?
Yes, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, you have in front of you the agenda that has been dispersed, and I would entertain a motion that we adopt the agenda as given.
Make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Any further discussion by council? Any opposed? Please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. The agenda is adopted. Council, in front of you also are the minutes of the March 1st, 2021 regular council meeting. Those have been mailed out to you. I will entertain a motion that we approve the minutes as given.
Second.
In a second, please.
Second.
Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. The minutes are adopted. And who here is going to be,
Christy's on Zoom.
is she here with us?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Christy. Okay. I'm going to read a proclamation to you, and this is for the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April the 11th through the 17th, 2021. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Pickens County 911 Emergency Communications Center, and whereas public safety telecommunications are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety telecommunications are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas Public Safety Telecommunications of the Pickens County 911 have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppressions of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in this past year, therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Jasper, Georgia declares the week of April 11th through 17th, 2021 to be National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in the City of Jasper in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Signed this 5th day of April 2021. Thank you, Christy.
Thank y'all very much.
Under old business, final consideration and approval of ordinance number 2020-29, excuse me, and 2020-30, request of rezone and annexation of parcel number JA08, 042 and JA08, 042.001 at 855 North Main Street and North Main Street through R3 into the City of Jasper. And I'll ask Brandon Douglas, our city manager, and Lonnie Waters to bring this to us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, and for the public. This particular process began back in November of last year, whereupon an applicant, I think subsequently he's purchased the property, had requested to annex into the city to utilize city services. It was a candidate for annexation, went through the public hearing process. You may recall that subsequently there was a tabling by the applicant in order to kind of work through some questions they had with respect to what exactly the development was going to look like. Ultimately, staff's recommendation was basically corresponding with that of the applicant at the time, in so much as it was eligible for annexation. It would have an associated land use or zoning district of R3, and that ultimately the applicant and council could make a contingency that upon approval, the applicant could submit a site plan to you all for final consideration before a land disturbance permit is issued. Typically, that is handled exclusively at the staff level. However, in light of the fact that there was some, I guess, discrepancies with regards to what this particular property could be used for, we deemed it prudent to include that as a condition of annexation. Since they were requesting to come into the city, we felt it was appropriate to then request that they submit a site plan that would reflect the spirit of the R3 district standards. You may recall last month at the March 1 meeting, we went ahead and favorably considered the annexation and R3. In between that meeting and tonight, the applicant, I believe, has submitted a preliminary concept for consideration as a site plan. I'm not sure if the applicant or their representative is here to speak on it, but included in your packet was the site plan, which did reflect 39 units, which overall the density is perhaps less intensive than what the R3 could potentially do at 13,000 square foot lot sizes, albeit there are some lot sizes that are within about a 10% range of the 13,000. Conversely, there are some lots in there 20,000+ square foot. So overall, meeting the spirit of the R3 district standards, we felt as though this concept plan was appropriate for inclusion. The applicant's land planner did concur on Thursday prior to the packets being issued to go with that. If there's any deviation substantially from this with respect to increasing, obviously that would have to come before y'all. But ultimately, I think a cap of 39 lots would indicate a means of one access point. And so you have before you tonight a concept plan, but ultimately you can have a second reading of the annexation and rezoning. And if you so choose to then defer the site plan approval until later, you can. Or if you want to see the final site plan prior to the engineered plans that Lonnie's department issues, you can do that as well. So ultimately, what this is the second reading of our final consideration of the annexation and rezone. The site plan in your packet, the cursory review, it does not cause me any concern in so much as it does appear to reflect the intent of the R3, and it's drastically different than the other iterations that they had floated by us.
Council, will entertain a motion at this time.
Do those need to be separate motions or just one?
We just need one.
Oh, okay.
Are we sure no one's here from the, Sherry's on the?
Sherry's on Zoom.
Hey guys, I'm here.
Okay.
Brian Westbrook, I'm here as well.
Okay.
were there any comments you were wanting to add for a motion?
We would ask if you would approve the site plan, and we'd be happy with that if you choose to do so.
Make a motion to approve what is presented to council.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion by council?
Should there be changes to this site plan, is it understood they would come back to council for another review?
So noted.
Okay.
I think it's, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I think it's important that the site plan match what the ordinance reflects. And so I'm willing to consider this site plan as long as when Brandon and the staff are working with the land planners and they identify areas where it may not meet that ordinance and our other ordinances, that it be adjusted to meet the ordinances.
Can I ask a question, please?
I'm sorry.
Brandon, Brian Westbrook here, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
And so I'm having a little bit of difficulty here, but are we approving the site plan as well as the second reading, of the?
Yes, subject to that site plan meeting all specifications for
Okay,
our
thank you.
ordinances. I'm sorry?
She said thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I have a
Thank you.
motion and a second. Is there any?
Brandon, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
We wanted, is the site plan as it exists here, is it approved?
That goes to the plan review process as indicated by staff. This is the concept plan approved by council in order for your engineer to begin final design. So yes, this is the template that they use to go to engineer drawings.
Okay, so we can't use this template to go to engineering drawings, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate it. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say. The motion carried, the site plan and annexation is approved. Item B is a final consideration and approval of ordinance number 2021-03 for the request to de-annex it, parcel number 0292B 098 at 677 Lumber Company Road from the City of Jasper. And Brandon, again, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor and Council, for the public, this would be considered the second and final reading of the ordinance to consider the annexation. This parcel, as you recall, is kind of a candidate for the annexation, as it does not create an island. It's on the periphery of the city limits, and insomuch as there are no services with respect to sewer. Therefore, the applicant had desired to request the annexation. The county did approve a resolution obliging, so this is the final consideration of.
Council, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-03.
Have a motion to approve ordinance
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. The motion carries. Item C, final consideration and approval of ordinance number 2021-04 for amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances as it pertains to Article 5, Division 3 and 4. And Brandon, if you will, please, sir.
Sir, this is second reading, final consideration. You may recall when we approved the zoning ordinance at our February 1 meeting, there were elements of the zoning ordinance which do basically do away with the zoning board of appeals by way of an entity unto itself for variances. That's really the biggest deal, is now the Planning and Zoning Commission is a recommended body, as it already is, but we'll consider those variances as well as you all as the deciding body. So that's really the impetus of this particular change.
Council, I entertain a motion for final consideration of this article.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2021-04 for amending chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinance.
Have a motion to approve,
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. The motion carries. Under new business, item A, as we have previously stated, but I want to state again for the record that the request for rezoning parcel number JA13097 has been withdrawn by the participant, by the applicant. Under item B, new business, request to rezone 2 tracts of parcels on West Church Street. The applicant requests to table. So at this point, I don't think at this point we even need a motion to table, so we're just going to let that go. Under item C in new business, consideration of ordinance number 2021-06 and ordinance 2021-07 for text amendment to the zoning ordinance and sign ordinance. Brandon, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Council, this is kind of the first consideration of, you may recall that there was a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on March 23rd, public hearing, as well as you all had this at your public hearing on March 25th. And just as a reminder for everyone with respect to procedures, the new zoning ordinance does specifically call out the policy and procedure of doing land use matters. So with respect to public hearings, this is a public meeting whereupon things are considered from those public hearings. So the presentation that was had on March 25th is still the same. There's been no changes. This is something that staff reviewed after the February 1 approval of the zoning ordinance with respect to the design standards for the aviation and airport. That has been excluded with regards to that particular section of the design, as well as the sign ordinance. The illumination of flag, that particular section was completely struck. So this is just for your consideration. And with that, no further presentation.
Council, I entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-06, 2021-07.
I need a second, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2021-06 and 2021-07. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say. The motion carries. Item D, consideration of ordinance number 2021-08 as amended for discounted water and sewer rates. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that I am very happy to see this. I think it's time that we change this for some of our senior citizens. And staff has prepared documents that are in your package to show exactly what we will do with that. And I'll also ask council members, Jim Luty and Ann Snavy, if they will bring this to us.
Council, this is something that was included in your package. I believe we've seen this before, but it is an attempt to have a lower water rate for certain low income levels, reductions based on lower income levels. I think staff has done a wonderful job with this. I make it as a motion.
Second.
Council, I have a motion and a second to approve this amended discount water and sewer rate. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say. The motion carries. Under item E, consideration of ordinance number 2021-09 for the request to de-annex parcel number 0298-064-005 located off of Burnt Mountain Road from the City of Jasper. Brandon, if you would bring that to us, sir.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, council, in your packets, the application from the property owner. Basically, what they have articulated is that they own what's essentially a landlocked piece of property along Burnt Mountain that does not have access off of that road. They have no plans for any sort of future development. Mary, if you scroll down probably 5 or 6 pages, you'll see with respect to, keep going if you don't mind, you'll see where, one more, there we go. So that top little appendage there that I put in very, very small type that even I have a hard time seeing at this moment. But I believe I put in there indication that's the parcel. You can tell there's a cliff that basically you can't access it off Burnt Mountain. They have no plans for development. So they're just wanting to de-annex that off. You can see that it's not going to create an island, and with no services being provided. The county did consider this by way of resolution at their last meeting. So the process and procedure is we would have to have a reading of the ordinance, and then a second reading, and then it would be final.
And this is our second reading.
First.
First reading, okay, make sure.
Is that right, Lonnie?
Yes.
Okay, council, I entertain a motion to approve. Consideration of ordinance number 2021-09 for request to de-annex.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. The motion carries. Item F is consideration and approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Jasper and Pickens County for a joint SPLOST Code 6 project. And we'll let Brandon and David Simon bring this to us.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Council, you may recall last month you all approved the joint venture with the county. You know, I'm just adverse to paperwork, so I can't believe that I didn't put the IGA before y'all beforehand. But basically, y'all have approved to partner with them on this joint SPLOST project. And believe it or not, our good friends and partners at the county asked if we had an IGA, and I had to say, no, we do not. But with the help of our city attorney, he has crafted an intergovernmental agreement whereupon we will basically take all the verbal feel-goods and put it in writing to make sure that we meet and exceed expectations with this project. And realistically, that's all it is. There is no long-term implications. This is just to kind of partner with the county to replace that line, and beyond that, it just kind of caps our exposure with regards to what we had identified in the 2021 budget process anyway. So with that, Mr. Stiphen, I don't know if there's any legalese or anything else, but that's the gist of it.
I think you covered it pretty well. I tried to draft and include provisions that could cover any issue that could come up. But basically, as Brandon has indicated, it provides for a joint project to upgrade the water line that's along Highway 136. The county retains ownership of the line. Right now, the project has an estimated budget of $170,000. I believe in the last meeting, y'all voted to commit $85,000 out of SPLOST. As you know, though, sometimes the estimates don't pan out when you're out there digging in the ground. So the agreement provides that that if project costs go over the $170,000 that's estimated, that we would participate in those project costs up to a total project cost of $300,000. So it caps the city's contribution limit at $150,000. The agreement provides that the county is responsible for maintaining the line, keeping it operational, and the county would own the line. The agreement does allow us to send water that we purchase from wholesale sources to be transported through the line to our water system, which will help us. The agreement is for 50 years, so that would give us 50 years of transport rights in return for the money that we're paying to upgrade the line. And it indicates that we're paying our share out of SPLOST. Left up to the county how they're going to pay. If the project goes over $170,000, then the county's got to come back and show, you know, why it went over that amount to our public works director and to the city manager, and upon their approval, we'll come up with additional funding if we have to. And then the rest of the clauses are just standard boilerplate provisions that are in intergovernmental agreements. So with that explanation, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Council, I entertain a motion to approve this IGA between the city and the county.
I move we make a motion we approve the IGA between City of Jasper and Pickens County.
For the SPLOST 136 project.
Sorry.
And have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. And the motion is approved. Item G is consideration and approval of augmentation agreement extension with Pickens County. Brandon, if you will.
I think the agenda item, Mr. Mayor and Council, speaks for itself. No, I'm joking, that was terrible. Basically what happened was we partnered with the county last year. You may recall that they had received an EPD permit to begin developing a water treatment plant at Grandview. in order to meet their 7Q10 requirements to EPD and to just continue to add more sources of water into the system. We did solicit their partnership and EPD's approval to basically flow that water down to Cove for us to have a temporary withdrawal permit of 1.33 million instead of the 1 million at the Cove Creek. I think in the last few weeks, EPD has extended that permit to October of this year. So to keep things consistent, Mr. Siphon has crafted an extension of the agreement between us and the county for us to continue doing so.
Thank you, sir. Council, I entertain a motion that we approve this augmentation agreement between, with Pickens County.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Item H is consideration and approval of opening an account with United Community Bank along with signature cards for Mayor Lawrence, I don't want one, Mayor Pro Tem Looney, and City Manager for the USDA interim financing. I'll ask Ms. Lindsay Williams, she will bring this to us.
Mayor and Council, as y'all recall from the March meeting, the term sheet for United Community Bank was accepted for the banking services for the USDA loan for our water pollution control plan expansion. So we're just asking for approval to open an account with United Community Bank and to have Mayor Lawrence, Mayor Pro Tem Looney, and City Manager Brandon Douglas as signers for this account.
Thank you. And for those in the audience, we do have a stipulation that requires that there be two signers, one of which can be one of the elected, and then someone from staff also has to sign off. So council, entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Motion second to approve. Any further discussion by council?
Mr. Mayor, if I will, just to make sure that, let the public know that this is financing that involves our wastewater treatment upgrade that we're working on hopefully to complete in the next few years.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. The motion carries. Item I, consideration of alcohol license, Finley Creek Brewing. And let's see, Lindsay, if you would please again.
Mayor and Council, so Finley Creek, they're just changing the licensee, the person holding the license, and if you'll see in your packet is the information on the new licensee, and there's no disqualifying factors, they meet everything, and we're just asking for approval to change this.
Okay. Sounds simple enough. Council, entertain a motion to approve. Alcohol license, Finley Creek Brewing.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item J is consideration of a special event along Stegall Drive between Main and Mark Whitfield. Brandon, if you would, please, sir.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, our city clerk is trying to keep me on the agenda as much as possible so she can get this meeting moving. So with that regards, I'm going to defer to her and our deputy on this item and the next one.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I was contacted by, let me get my glasses on, the gentleman from Angry Mama's auction, and he had already spoken with the police chief about closing the area between Main Street and Mark Whitfield. And they're going to have, let's see, from noon until 10 o'clock, they're going to have food truck, some outside dining tables set up, and merchandise from both Finley Creek Brewing and Angry Mama's Auction Company for sale. And this is to be held this upcoming Saturday.
Saturday, April the 10th. Sounds like a fun event. Council, I'll entertain a motion that we approve this special event on Stegall Drive.
Greg, do you have anything to add?
No, they're paying off-duty officer, and it's just, I think 50 feet long, y'all know the road.
Right. I just wanted to make sure since we put that in.
Yeah, we got it all covered
Got it
off-duty,
covered.
and they're gonna take care of us, and we'll take care of it.
Good. I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the special event on Cigar Drive on April the 10th.
10, this Saturday.
Okay. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item K, consideration of numerous special events.
You got one more on J.
On J, I do.
Don't you, do you
No,
need
we're
that?
okay.
Huh?
You're okay.
Oh, okay.
We just did.
All right. Okay, so we'll go back to item
Okay.
K. Consideration of numerous special events at Lee Newton Park. And we'll ask Brandon to bring, wait, are you going to do these?
I'm deferring.
Yeah, he deferred to me
He
again.
has to defer.
And I'll ask Tara if she wants to make any comments about this, because she's the one that's been talking to all of these people.
Well, Mayor and council, most of these events are annual events that we've had in the past, with the exception of a few car shows. We do have here in attendance and via Zoom a few of the people that are wanting to hold events. If you have any questions, all of these are at Lee Newton Park, except for the Cove Waterfall, and I believe Charles and them are here if you have any questions for them.
So those events are a car show and a Marine Corps Spring Cookout at Lee Newton. 36 annual farm days of yesterday. Freedom Wheel Ride, is that still on, or is that?
That one is still on.
Okay. And then the Masonic Annual Meeting at the Cove Waterfall on June the 5th. Council, at this point, I'll entertain a motion on this.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any further discussions on council? Any questions for these gentlemen in the back?
Welcome back.
That being said, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say. Motion carries and those events are approved. Item L, consideration and approval of advertising bids
That's why.
for public safety radios. See you, Cliff.
Mr. Charles.
Repeaters and study, etc. Brandon Miller.
Yes, sir. Now we get to slow it down. So, you may recall our January 28th planning retreat, staff had identified with regards to public safety, and it really goes back to even in some of our 2021 budget discussions, the 9 meetings we had. We're trying to identify things, equipment that we need to do. Radios, repeaters, antennas is one of those that admittingly, at the time of the budget preparation, we probably did not allocate sufficient resources, thinking that, well, maybe we could just get by with the purchasing of maybe about 40 radios, try to get about $40,000 plus into the budget. Unfortunately, we had a meeting with our county partners, and although we cannot achieve exactly what some of the hope and desire is with respect to communication, and obviously with the proclamation, it's pretty well evident that 911 is vital for our frontline workers. Our radios are ways to communicate. This is an item that we've identified that's going to have to go out for bid. So tonight, you're not considering anything other than just authorizing us to go out to bid, because we do feel that this is going to exceed the $25,000 mark, which is the threshold that we have to solicit competitive bids. Because of the specialty of what we're asking for, we do feel as though there's only a few qualified vendors that can provide us with an adequate quote. We do think that this expenditure may double, triple, quadruple the expected cost that we identified, and that even is still well half of what some of the needs really are with respect to telecommunications. Millions and millions of dollars can be spent. Unfortunately, we're just trying to take some decades of equipment and just upgrade as best we can. So with y'all's pleasure, we'll just kind of check this off and move forward. And hopefully by the May meeting, we can have staff come and who are more qualified than me to tell you what we got. Because I'll just be faking it if I told you I knew exactly what we're going to communicate with.
Thank you, sir. And at this point, I'll entertain a motion, council, that we approve the advertising for bids for this equipment. So moved. Second. Have a motion and a second to approve for bids. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. And the motion carries. Item N. Consideration and approval of advertising bids for right-of-way maintenance contract. And Brandon, I know this is something that we have discussed, so if you will, please bring this to us.
Yes, sir. This is, Mr. Mayor and Council, and to the public. Each year, we're responsible for about 70 miles of rights-of-way that we maintain as part of our service to the community. We have about 47 acres of property that we maintain. I will tell you firsthand, not to put David on the spot, but if you look at David's boot today, he was on a zero turn, keeping the plant mowed. We do not pay him for that, but you got to do what you got to do. So it's a situation where if I hire an employee at $10 an hour and we're paying them $20,000 a year, $20,000 benefits, that's $40,000 in that one employee, that will not maintain all of our assets that we have. So if you hire two, you're $80,000. So what we're hoping to do is, I do not have any expectations financially of what this is going to be competitive in the open market, but I do think that this is something to explore with regards to outsourcing. That would free up our existing staff that could otherwise go on to other projects, because it is a 2 or 3 day process beginning in March, April, all the way through October. And right now, it's just a matter of when you call me up or the citizens call me up, they're out mowing. So we'll create a work order and we'll try to get to that particular problem. So we're hoping that if we get some positive traction, I don't want y'all to be sticker shocked, but I did want to go ahead and be mindful that if we were to hire two employees, what your cost is. So anything in that ballpark may be worthwhile to outsource, because then you could have every 2 to 4 weeks a crew come in, just a private contractor, and hit up all the areas, or at least partial. We may do an ad bid to where maybe they hit half of this and half of that, and it still frees up some time. So at this moment, we just want to at least advertise. Did not want you all to be shocked with regards to what is this, because I do know that we'll continue to need to look at our salary schedule as well as our personnel, and we're going to have to hire some people. So with that regards, that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Do a little work today, David.
Council, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we allow staff to advertise for bids on right-of-way maintenance.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by council? Any questions for our city manager by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. And let's see what happens. Item N is consideration and approval of a generator for the water wastewater department. And we'll ask our director, David Hall, to bring that to us.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we'd like to get approval, I guess with all the storms and stuff that's come by lately, and a lot of the residents on our water system are set up on booster pumps, and whenever the storms come through where the power goes out, immediately their water will go out too, because there's no tanks that supply them. The two areas that we're needing these pump stations, generators for these booster pump stations, is Hickory Cove, which will require two, one at the bottom of the hill and then one at the top of the hill. And then one at Hill City on the west end, booster pump station for them also, a generator for it to work, because these are the people that immediately when the power goes off, they lose water. So by putting these generators in, that's going to allow us to keep hopefully our whole system hot during a power outage.
So how many people would you be talking about going
I'd
out
say-
if we don't do this?
I want to guess maybe 70, 80 residents in the Hickory Cove area,
Yeah.
and probably the same in the Hill City area. Probably the same 70, 80 customers. Well, people, you know, not that many meters, but, you know, actual residents. But they both experienced, you know, most other people, they at least maintain their water when the power goes off. You know, they maintain their water service even though the power's off, but with these locations, without the booster pump station, they're, within minutes, they're out of water. So, just come before y'all to ask y'all to allow us just to advertise for bids. We don't have the bids yet, but just to make sure y'all are okay. I think we've got it in the budget. I think it's budgeted maybe 30,000 in the budget for this, but I think we'll be able to do all three locations to be able to do this.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So this is budgeted.
Yes.
Now, this is an ongoing problem. It's not just related to what happened over the
Yes.
past few weeks. It's just something that we have been planning on doing, and now it's just becoming even more of it, and we
Yes.
need to do that.
Yes, and we've had quite a few actual residents, you know, that live in these communities, come and ask us if, you know, there's anything we could do. You know, it's rough being out of power, but it's really rough being out of power and water. So,
Okay, any further questions? At this point, I would entertain a motion to approve this. So moved. And a second, please.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. And item O is consideration to approve the service of match point for leak detection and zone meters, not to exceed $50,000. And I'll ask Dave to bring this to us.
Mayor and Council, this is the company that we use basically on an annual basis for our leak detection. And also too, we had tried to work with them to get some zone meters installed. We did not accomplish that, but we hope this year to be able to accomplish the zone meters and the leak detection. They're going to work in combination areas that they do the zone meters. That's going to be the only areas that they'll do the leak detection in. So we'll be able to, ultimate goal with this is to, you know, point us in the direction of some type of radio type read meters, if, you know, but we need to prove, you know, first that it's in the meters. So this is going to allow us to have the data to prove that. And like I say, we've worked with this company, I guess at least for the past 3 or 4 years.
This is also budgeted, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's
Budgeted.
15,000 leak detection and 25 to 30,000 zone meters. Yes.
David, explain to the citizens what the zone meter does.
Yeah, the zone meter allows you to go into, like, I'll use for instance, Arbor Hills, to where you can go into Arbor Hills, put that zone meter in Arbor Hills and allow for that meter, say it reads 10,000 gallons a day. Okay, then whenever we read the meters in the Arbor Hills area, then you should have the same amount, 10,000 gallons a day billed for that area. If you don't have, say you've got 8,000, then, you know, you've got 20% of the water going in Arbor Hills that you're not billing. So that allows you in that area to say, okay, we don't have any leaks in the area because we've done the leak detection. So it's the only thing left that it can be is the meters. So the zone meter is a calibrated, known fact meter. And it's saying that the usage should be 10,000 a day you're only billing 8,000 a day. So you know that 20% of your water's gone. And it's because the meters are just not reading. Most meters, whenever they get old, they don't start reading the low flow is what goes through. It is not picked up. And by losing that low flow through, 5,700 meters, so multiply that out, and that's a huge, huge expense.
David, this is third, fourth year we've done the leak detection.
I won't say fourth, Jim, but I'm not sure.
I think so.
But I will remind council that this, the results of the leak detection, the improvements caused by the leak detection is one reason we got the increase in the amount of water we could pull from the state.
Yes.
It was a 333,000 gallon increase, I believe.
Yeah, they really like you bringing in outside entities to help. Yes.
Any further questions by council? I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Motion and second to approve, all in favor? Opposed, same. The motion carries. Item P, consideration of approval for expensing up to $50,000 for the purchasing of water pipe for inventory. Folks, if you don't think water is expensive, you're wrong. Brandon, if you would, please bring this to us.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, I'll let David talk a little bit more, but I did want to use this opportunity to illustrate that point, Mayor, that at our last meeting, we had, y'all given us authorization to go and purchase some pipe from a vendor. When we went to obtain that pipe at the quote they had provided us, it was not honored. Therefore, rather than to try to get in any sort of dispute, we merely just said, okay, we'll bring back to Mayor and Council a couple of new quotes. That in and of itself illustrates and is a precursor to the item coming up after this in terms of cost. So with regards to cost, we are not immune from the changing economic environment with respect to private markets. So you'll see in your packet two quotes, one from Consolidated Piping Company and one from Core Maine. Consolidated Piping Company is the lesser of the two. We built in, although we're spending right at $30,000, we built in a little bit of buffer because we do need to get this inventory on the yard, and I don't want to delay another month because if in fact it came in at $35,000, we went to go pull the trigger, I can argue with them, I can have Mr. Siphon send them a letter, I can get all sorts of, hold to your guns, but we got to have the pipe. So I wanted to at least bring this to your attention. Let us get the inventory in our yard. I think David has identified an area that if we can look at over the summer months of installing a good bit of this pipe in our service delivery area. However, I do want it on our yard so that when we need it, we have it. So if there are any specifics, I'll talk to David, but just want to bring it to your attention.
Thank you. Council, entertain a motion to approve expensing up to $50,000 for the purchasing of water pipe for inventory.
So moved.
And a second, please. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item Q, which is a really good point to stop at, I guess, with that. Discussion of weather-related events and the impact that that has had on our city. And for those of you who don't know, like so many other places, we were hit, and pretty hard in some areas. So Brandon, if you will, bring this to us.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Council, it is very, very hard to look outside today and remember what it was like just a week or so ago with regards to the weather. But there's three things that I wanted to accomplish here. Is number one, to give you all an update on where we are with respect to the two major issues that hit. As Lonnie said in his prayer, we were blessed beyond any measure that we did not have any injuries, deaths relative to this storm, and we fared much better than other parts of the state. However, we do have the bridge culvert over at Jeanette that is still gone. We obviously have continued issues to fix at the Cove Creek. We basically mitigated those damages by having an emergency bypass put in designed to help get water from the wells to the plant so that we can continue servicing our customers. All told, we had EXP come out on Monday after the weather event. They had gotten some information Friday from Lonnie. They came out Monday, put in a letter on Tuesday, which I think is in your packet. It was around $240,000 worth of estimated cost. So that in and of itself demonstrates the magnitude of that damage. So it's not a matter of, that's a lot of money, it's a matter of, okay, well, we just got to get going and get it done, get it engineered, get it out to bid. GDOT did come through with a commitment letter of $141,000 last Wednesday. So we have mitigated that exposure relative to our cost. So we're going to continue to work with EXP and with GDOT. And Lonnie's got a call with GEMA tomorrow morning to figure out how we can kind of tap into some additional state or federal aid to see how we can lower the burden. But I will tell you that the monies would come from SPLOST. The 2014 SPLOST, there are monies left over that was going to go towards the sidewalk. We have sufficient monies in that to still achieve the sidewalk project once the reliability project is gone. We do plan on moving forward with that initiative. So I'm not worried about that money hitting the general fund. The water, same situation to where you may recall last year we had identified the refinancing of some of the existing debt from years gone by. We tapped into some capital, got some money that we can use towards capital expenditures. This obviously would qualify in my book, so that way it's not hitting the enterprise fund, it's not hitting the general fund. I will tell you that's going to be over $300,000. That's not just Brandon's guess, that's about $130,000 worth of work already done. So with respect to the amount it takes to run a business is no different than a local government. So I got here an estimate, not an estimate, an invoice from a contractor that did an emergency come out and fix for us. David's crew, Adam's crew, Lonnie, they spent about 22 hours, whether I'm supposed to say this or not from a labor perspective, if I'm not, disregard, but they worked tirelessly, and on Saturday, David and I met the contractor out there to basically get started, get the work done, so that we have no interruptions of service, which was the ultimate goal. Get it done. So basically what I'm asking for you all tonight is I'd like you all to formally be okay with staff moving forward with the GDOT application for the $140,000. I don't think that's an issue, but I'm still going to ask to make sure you're okay with us completing that paperwork. And I'd like that kind of formally motioned, as well as the approval to spend up to $150,000 kind of retroactively for the emergency repairs. I think we're pretty well done. Shortly after Monday, Tuesday of last week, they pretty much tightened everything up, and I don't foresee there being any issues. But as you can tell, from March 1 to April 5th, that's a lot of time. There's been a lot of stuff happen. So what my job is to do is try to mitigate as best we can, looking in the crystal ball, what may or may not happen. So I know our cap is going to be probably 300 plus total repairs at Code. So when Lonnie submits into GEMA, we already know we've got an estimate 240 plus at the bridge, about 300 plus adhere, along with what we did with the street department and with salaries. So our goal is to try to minimize any amounts that we have to pay and tap into some state and federal aid. But nonetheless, we got to pay our vendors to be good stewards of what we've already received. Our finance department does a phenomenal job accounting for. Basically, if we get authorization for accept the GDOT conditional letter, as well as authorization of up to $150,000 for the CAM Consulting Southeast LLC, that should achieve it. Hopefully by next month we'll have some more good news to share with respect to some financial aid.
Council, I entertain a motion to accept the GDOT proposal and a motion to expend it up to $150,000 extra down at Code as needed.
Make a motion to approve formally the GDOT letter in reference to funding assistance for culvert and road washout on Jeanette Drive.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve
GDOT letter.
the GDOT letter, which does refer to the Jeanette Drive.
Elmig, I think is what you're looking for.
Elmig, that was. And any further discussion by council?
Mayor, if I might.
Sure.
Mr. Douglas, if you can, I know that this road, specifically living on this road, there's a history of the issues there with the water. Right now, with it being closed down, if we can enhance the detour road closed signs, that would be beneficial. And I'm not sure, I know that you took measures at Code in reference to lighting for safety reasons. That may be something we keep in mind. I'm glad no one broke through this.
Very good. And if I could, just one of the things David reminded me this morning, it did blow out the finish line. So what happens is you got the main line coming into the city water plant. You got a line going out to service our customers. That line's obliterated too. So right now our county partners are feeding off of their line in the Hickory Cove area. So we are basically down to just that option. You know, we always like to have a contingency, but right now the contingency was to back into it because this is gone. So we may look at trying to do something temporary until we can do it more permanent. But right now, with the way that the conditions are, I'm not sure how viable it is, but I wanted to bring your attention that it's not just the main, but it's the finish going back out as well.
And we don't know exactly what that's going to cost.
Correct.
At this point. So what we're doing now may allow you something to start, but you may have to come back to us for additional funding on the finish when we get that done.
Yes, we'll have to bid it out, and Turnip Seed is finalizing engineering.
We want that engineer.
Because we're out of the emergency at this moment matter, we'll do an expedited bid process of 2 weeks and hopefully get something out to qualified contractors and get started.
So we have a motion and a second to approve those steps necessary to get us started, which is up to $150,000, and to accept the GDOT letter. So,
Mayor, the motion I made only covered the GDOT LMIG letter. I'll make a second motion.
would you include in it the $150,000 if that?
Yes. If I can amend my motion to include the approval of GDOT LMIG letter and also for the addition of the up to $150,000 for emergency water at Cove Creek project.
I think that would cover what we need covered at this point.
I think I had the second on that one, and I'll change my second to include that.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. And the motion is carried. Brandon, please press on. One other thing I want to do is to give some necessary credit that I think our state representative, Rick Jaspers, has stepped in and really helped us with some of this, and I want to thank him publicly for what he has done for us. Item 9, committee reports. Development Committee, council members, Dr. Stanley Proctor and Kurt Bradfield.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'd like to just, nothing really new to report, but I would like to take the opportunity to express my gratitude to staff in our building department. Over the last few years, we have taken that department from an organization that, including its interactions with the council, where we did not have a legally established planning and zoning commission. We had a very small staff with inconsistent practices. We went through an extensive evaluation process and rewrote our entire planning and zoning for that area, which has not been done since 1979. There's misinformation being distributed to the public that we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in that process. And we spent, I think if I remember correctly, it was in the neighborhood of $30,000. We all are very much engaged in building community, and I think over some of the most recent actions that have come before this council that relates to planning and zoning, we've demonstrated that we're doing that. The last 3 or 4 planning and zoning meetings have had great positive interaction from our constituents, which is what we really want, because we need their information. And I'm very, very proud to be part of that and see it happen right before our eyes. And I want to thank the council and staff and the public for their input in this journey that we're on. So, thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bradfield?
I would just echo what Dr. Proctor said. It's important, as Mr. Douglas mentioned, when we're going through an emergency and a weather-impacted time frame, that our water crews, David, our streets crew, Adam, the public safety, the admin, our development crew, every single department here, everyone stepped up. And for that, I'm very grateful. So thank you all.
Thank you. Our next item would be Street and Parks Committee. Council members Ann Snavy and John Fast.
Well, on that, right now, we're just continuing to move forward, and we don't have anything new on right now.
Yeah, we're still waiting on some plans for Doris Wiggins Park that look good, towards my liking. It's going to be really exciting. And then I'm also going to be with Dr. Proctor and Kurt, thanking our street crews for going out. I mean, hey, go over there and look where that bridge used to be. It's something else. They did a fine job. They really did. The whole city did. And also, Brandon, you did a good job too. Thank you.
We do have a lot of great employees, and we don't acknowledge the strengths and stuff that they've led us to with all the stuff we've gone through in the last several months. So thank you all.
Next will be our Administration Committee, Council members Jim Looney and Ann Snavy.
Nothing new. I know that there are some of the job descriptions that need to be completed or approved before the LMIG money is requested. We will continue working on that and have them available as soon as possible. Administratively, carrying on, so appreciate everyone's work.
Yes.
Thank you. Water and wastewater committees will be John Faust and Dr. Sonny Proctor.
I'd like to kind of reiterate what I said about building and planning and zoning. I think we found ourselves, Brandon didn't want to call it a crisis this weekend. I don't know. I don't know what a crisis is, but that's not one. But not only were we able to engage our crews, but we were able to engage a professional contractor in an emergency situation. We have made moves over the last few years to have funding available to protect our infrastructure and to service our infrastructure without having to take from general fund or other areas. And so I think it just demonstrates how far this council, mayor, and staff have come over the last few years. And again, thank you to the staff and to my fellow council members and Mr. Mayor and to our public.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank the guys at the water department again too. This last weekend was definitely a test. But we're gonna let it get on by and we're gonna make everything better. So that's what we're looking forward to. See if we can be one of the better water departments in the state. So I hope we can. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Police and Fire Committee, council members Kirk Redfield and Jim Moon.
First of all, it's April. We survived another March. March has not been good to us.
Not at all.
I know Brandon has threatened to take vacation every March for the rest of his career. I'm not sure that we can.
Mayor's already approved it.
I'm sure we can approve that.
Especially in particular.
March has just been horrific to this city over the last 3 years. So thankfully, it's April now. Brandon, if you could you give us an update on the mold issue at the fire station?
Yes, sir.
What actions we've taken?
Yes, sir, and thank you. That was something that staff had contemplated on whether or not it was going to exceed kind of our purchasing policy. You may recall seeing an email that a report had been generated. Subsequently, Mr. Lonnie and I had spoken with the company that had conducted an air quality test. They provided us some very good information with regards to our level of comfort, that although it was something that needed to be addressed, it was not something that was kind of at a crisis level. You may recall again at the January 28th planning retreat, we'd already identified some monies in the 2020 SPLOST budget that for 2021 we were going to look at doing some rehabilitation at the fire department. So with regards to even a financial hit, we have tried to mitigate our exposure relative to that. So the issue was, what are we dealing with? Because we don't know. Is it something that we have to bid out? Is it something that we could obtain some estimates? So in speaking with the gentleman who generated the report, he gave Mr. Lonnie and I a pretty good comfort level that he had done some remediation in the past. Although he generated a report, he could not do any sort of remediation. So he provided us some names to reach out to. 2 of the 3 have done an on-site inspection, one of which did fall below the $10,000. So the reason I did not put this on the agenda was it does fall less than the $10,000 that triggers council approval. However, after thinking about it, the other vendor did kind of solicit the services of another qualified professional just to lay eyes on it. Unfortunately, we know that our base is around that $9,700 to mitigate. We don't know what our exposure may be when we get the other one. I don't think we're going to be comparing apples to apples. It's probably going to be apples to oranges. So whether or not the cost is going to be greater, it's something that I do think warrants the attention of y'all to say, hey, take a good look, get our consulting firm, Clark Patterson Lee, who's more qualified to look at and to ascertain whether or not we go with the $9,700 quote, or once again, we're still unknown what the other one comes in at, but presumably with them taking additional measures to look at, I have a feeling it's going to exceed that. So I never want to be flippant with monies that we're entrusted to protect, but you would be proud that we've gone through the process to ensure that within the last few weeks, we identified an issue, looked towards remediating. Chief Roper has some pretty good leads on how to, and he's meeting with some folks in the morning to how to address the concern of once the remediation is being conducted, a general time frame for non-exposure. But once again, not to marginalize the importance of this, we felt a little more at ease that the person who conducted it had advised us that it was not in the realm of crisis mode. And I believe Mr. Looney had even stated there may be some residential places that he's seen much worse. So once again, the industrial hygienist is the other person that this other vendor is using. So that's the delay in that. So I do not want to just get this person, have them do it, and then we get this other quote in, and oh, well, maybe if we spend an extra few thousand, we could have really ensured that this was a much better approach. So with that, I would like for y'all just to be attuned to that.
I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve an expenditure of up to $20,000 to mediate this issue, hoping that it's not going to take all of that, but if it does, that at least gives staff the ability to get this resolved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to spend up to $20,000 on the mold remediation at the fire station. Any further discussion by council?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
so this motion, the 20,000, will come out of the projected total of what was discussed in the retreat.
Correct. We had identified about 50,000, 60,000 worth of splost monies that could be utilized for rehabilitating the facility. So the hope is that this is kind of a jump start because primarily I think the area is in the attic area where the HVAC. So in terms of creeping into the living area, it did have some exposure. So I think anything that we do will help towards the continued future rehabilitation efforts.
So the date of the report that was conducted was after council had identified rehabilitation of that facility.
Yes, in terms of between January 28th and March.
Yes, thank you.
Council, have a motion and a second to spend up to $20,000 on this particular set of circumstances that will require some remediation at our fire department. Do I have any further discussion by council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
I will also add to our report that the fire and police chief's reports are included in the package.
I almost forgot what Greg looks like.
I'm not going there. I'm not going to comment.
So council, at this time, we would ask Beverly Raven to bring a financial report to us.
Lindsay and I both agreed that we needed to do a little better job of explaining things on the financial report because there'd been some things kind of misinterpreted in the media. So we are providing you all with an abbreviated report that we actually print. We didn't report on the smaller non-major funds, but we did want y'all to see the expenses year to date. We're at the 25% mark, and just about everything is at or under budget, except for a couple of departments, and we're actually a little bit ahead in revenue at 29%. And the reason why expense and revenue do not match is because we did not put all the departments in there. We were trying to keep it as brief as possible. But anytime y'all want to see a full report, I will be glad to do that. Following through with water and sewer fund, we did have Sewer admin was up pretty, good, above 25%. But all in all, I wanted to, change, rather than just saying we collected this much money in this month, I wanted y'all to have a picture of what the budget actually looked like going through the year. And if this is pleasing to y'all, we'll continue to use it. And anything y'all have other questions about, want us to include, we'll be glad to do that as well.
These are a lot easier to obtain with the new software than,
Oh, yeah.
thank goodness.
And Mr. Mayor, what Beverly's saying is she's firing me from giving the report because she's tired of dumbing it down for me. So hopefully y'all will be able to understand this a little better.
Well, I keep that budget on my desk at every single day because I remind myself that.
Well, we have
Yeah,
ebbs and
yeah, money
flows,
runs,
last, in February, we did get an annual payment of franchise fees from Georgia Power, which inflated the revenue for that month quite a bit. That's not usual.
Thank you, Barry.
You're welcome.
And Lonnie Waters, if you would please report on development.
Mayor and council, we had 22 building permits that totaled nearly $19,000. We had 95 building inspections, 5 plan reviews, 28 soil and erosion inspections, 3 pre-planning meetings. We renewed 11 business licenses, 24 insurance licenses, and issued business license for 8 new businesses.
Thank you, sir. And Chief Lovell, it's good to see you back, sir.
I've had to come to a couple of them.
Yeah.
Not here though.
Your mask looks good.
Thank you. Matching. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Jasper Police Department for the month of March responded to 782 calls from the 911 center. Worked 65 motor vehicle accidents. Issued a total of 145 citations for the following: 1 DUI, 92 speeding, 1 seatbelt, 1 reckless driving, 46 miscellaneous, 1 suspended or revoked license, 2 possession of marijuana, and 1 for unlawful use of a wireless device. Georgia State Patrol issued a total of 101 for a grand total in city court, 246. 23 state warrants were issued for the following: 5 for possession of controlled substance, 5 possession of marijuana less than an ounce, 4 possession of drug-related objects, 2 simple battery, family violence, 2 criminal trespass, 1 suspended driver's license, 1 failure to stop at stop sign, 1 tampering with evidence felony, 1 theft by taking felony, and 1 entering auto. Miscellaneous calls responded to were 37 alarm calls, 11 disorderly, 4 harassment, 4 trespassing or loitering, 24 suspicious activities, 15 domestic disputes, investigated 0 burglaries.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask Chief, how many motor vehicle accidents do y'all work? And could you just kind of explain a little bit about why there's an uptick maybe?
There's an uptick. The Georgia State Patrol used to work every one of our accidents. They're short-handed, and their new command staff has wanted them to focus more on DUIs and unattended driving. I actually met with a young trooper that works this post, just coming back off legislative session, and they're looking, I believe he said, that the governor is seeking to send volunteers, troopers, to address the street racing in Atlanta, the governor, because it's getting out of control down there. So the State Patrol's not working our wrecks, and I think we worked 4 today. I mean, it's just, it's eating us up on accidents, but we're maintaining.
Florida SR 13, Karen back with her.
But be mindful during budget time, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Good seeing y'all.
And last but certainly not least, Chief Roper.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. For the month of March, the city's fire department responded to 119 emergencies. Those were no residential or commercial fires, 1 vehicle fire, 3 grass fires, 10 auto accidents with injuries, 88 emergency medical responses, 17 other calls. As always, if anything was not listed above, for the total of 119 at the end of March. Fire inspection looked at 5 sets of plans for construction and conducted 20 inspections.
Thank you, sir.
You.
And before we close, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that the recent issues that we had with weather, if that does not constitute a crisis, I would really appreciate us not having to go through anything else. But I want to commend our city manager for the leadership that he did, not just with our crews, but also with those outside crews that were brought in and helped us out of a situation that could have been critical as far as water supplied to all of our people in our city. So our greatest appreciation to your leadership skills, Brandon Douglas. Thank you.
I think that's for the year, yes.
And at this time, I would entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Mayor, I would like to say one more thing. I didn't mean it. It sounded like I thought we were step patrol under the bus. The state patrols.
Really?
The Georgia State Patrol still works our serious injury and fatalities because they're trained with the skirt teams and all that. But they still assist us and they're here and a valuable asset to us in the city.
So now, one more thing before we adjourn. It's been my practice in the past, and I'm going to continue that anyone in the audience who wishes to say something to us or bring something to council at this point, then I invite you to do so. If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. In a second.